Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. Real talk for the real world. Let's get it. Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. Real talk for the real world. Let's get it.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Welcome to another fly edition of Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. It is another week, yes, and it is the first day of summer, so we're appreciating summer has finally made its arrival. So I know it's hot in some places, nice in some places, but wherever you are tuning in across the globe, please drop in the comments where you tune in from. Let us know how you feeling today. Let us know your perspective. Also, let us know your thoughts and your questions. Please put them in there, especially because we're dealing with a topic today that I think that you're really going to get a lot out of. Also, if you're tuning in, not live today, but you're tuning in on hashtag replay, you also drop in there where you're tuning in from. Drop in the comments your perspective, your thoughts, because we love to hear from you. This show can't be what it is without you, our wonderful network, and we appreciate you guys tuning in. It's lovely. I'm enjoying it. The sun is shining. It's nice and warm. It's not too hot here in the Northeast today, so we just chilling it. But I can't do this by myself. You all know I got my partner, my partner in crime, so to speak, my ace with my aces. Come on, Charlene. What's going on? What's going on?
Hello.
A
What's
summer hat
up?
on, y'all, today.
I know my first day of summer hat on. Yes. Good morning. How are you all? Hopefully you do not hear a lot of the drama going on outside. I don't know where they're drilling, but they drilling something. I need them to
Wow.
calm down.
It's New York. They always doing something.
Lord, always.
Yeah. What's up? So
So
how was your week?
what is up?
Nothing much.
My
Hold
weekend was good. It was relaxing. I did exactly what I wanted to do was relax.
on.
And um something that I always do is I set up my one of my text message service. So please, if you guys want to get an SOS session with me, hit me up. Text message Brand Misfit VIP to 74121, and you'll get more information there. Or just head on over to brooklyn.customdesigns.com/SOS. So yes, I'm trying to do things to simplify it all for everybody.
All right. Yes, a wonderful weekend. We had the weekend. What it was, to all the fathers out there. We happy belated Father's Day. We hope you guys has a wonderful weekend. I'm just looking at all the comments of the people coming in. Florence says 102 out there in Texas. Woo! I know. I'm looking to go out there in September. Hopefully it cool down a little bit by the time I get out there. We got James tuning in from Florida. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I thought I saw somebody. My man Steven Bratch from Jackson, Mississippi. Steven, that's where my great grandparents and stuff is from. That's where my lineage is from. Don't ask me what street they came from. I do not know. I went down there twice as a young boy from Chicago for the summer. So I don't know where they live, but I do know they was born in Jackson. So appreciate you tuning in to the show. Got 6 degrees of separation with that connection right there. And thank you, Dr. M, tuning in as well from Mumbai. We appreciate you. Like we said, this is a global show, so we appreciate you guys coming by. And we got a great topic that we're talking about today. We're talking about the art of continuous improvement, right? When you hear that, you hear about continuous improvement, and all of us in whatever space we're in, whether we're entrepreneurial, business leaders, have our own businesses, working for others, in corporate, artists, whatever it is that you're doing, you always think that you're in a continuous improvement mode with getting better in your skill and your craft. But who did I know beside that the continuous improvement is actually a concept? And it's actually something that's why I put the art in there. The art of is actually a concept that is really used, and there's a process behind it that can make you better. So who other better person that we have to talk about that this morning than our guest that we're gonna have on? You know what I'm saying? She's gonna school us today. So we don't
Can't wait to to get into
You
that.
look. Yes, I can't wait to get into that. So Valorie Hendrix, come on out. You got Charlene building construction in Brooklyn. Yes. What's up,
Can you
Val?
hear it? Is it that bad?
Hey.
I just heard a little. I just heard a little bit. She got construction going on. They building a new studio in Brooklyn for Real Talk Live.
Good.
So, hey Val, how are you?
Oh, absolutely. That sounds wonderful. Great.
Good, good,
Thank
good.
you
Val,
so much for having me on. And thank you all here
awesome,
and participating.
awesome, awesome.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about. Tell us a little bit about you first and foremost. Let everybody know a little bit about who you are, what you're doing, your passions, those kind of things. Then we'll hop right into this continuous improvement process.
Yeah, so a little bit about
Can you hear
myself
me?
is that I've been in continuing for probably a good 15 years. I started back after my undergraduate, where I worked in basically out in the accounting field. And then as I went into engineering, which basically helps with the organization, with the cost efficiency, as well as the value analysis of what the products and services are. And then I went into quality as well as Sigma after that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, how did it come across Lean Six Sigma? I've heard that a lot. I really don't know what that entails. I do know. I think I do know. Anyway, it's on the accounting side, right? It's with numbers and math and stuff. Is that kind of process of that? How did that turn to the continuous improvement piece, where you wanted to kind of like go into this to make people not only aware of it, but to see how it develops individuals, businesses, and companies?
Yeah, so basically, what I really enjoy continuous improvement is that it is based basically on that we want people, and the fact that what lean does is basically we could also emphasize flow, so that individuals are actually doing more difficult work. So it removes some of the difficulty in some of the work, such as movement, transportation, um, lifting heavy. It helps to create a more efficient and process within the process towards improvement. And so when we talk about Lean Six Sigma, we look at quality side. And in the quality side, we want to make sure it is within the requirements of the customers, that they're more efficient, more effective, and serve a better towards the customer.
You're muted, Carl. But I do want to jump in with the Lean Six Sigma, because when I
Uh-huh.
first heard about that, it was unclear what to expect, because with Lean Six, then Agile came along, Scrum came along, so you were like, okay, what am I supposed to be using? But it came clear that they have specific needs, or they meet specific needs of a person. And what I got with Six Sigma was, it was for you to really streamline more and make it a
Mhm.
more broader task. Have you found that, or is there a way to kind of bring that in a little more and hone in for something more specific?
Hmm.
Can you hear me?
Six Sigma, you definitely want to create the efficiency of the process. Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Six Sigma, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Are you good?
Yes, I hear
Okay.
you. Yes,
All
yes, I hear
right. All right, great. Sigma efficiency of the process. And so when we create more of the efficiency of the processes to make sure that they're efficient, the waste that employees are doing in providing within the process, and like such as transportation bottlenecks. We want to remove any of the bottlenecks preventing our work process to move towards the end goal, which is going to be the transportation to the customer. So there's a lot of that really when we talk about continuous improvement, but we also remember that with continuous improvement, we want to know what we are doing affect what we do today really affects what we do. So the improvements we make has to have a simplified return for tomorrow. So are we going to increase input? Are we going to increase quantity, increase safety awareness, training, education, as well as cost and value towards the customer? So there's a lot that has continuous improvement that goes into it, as well as philosophies, changes, and tools as well. So there is much to do to them. A lot of it has to do with learning. I have for multiple years. I am still a student. I don't think I will ever consider myself as an expert because there's just so much to learn. So in that, I always want to be able to take it and give it as a teacher and teach everybody as well. So I consider myself a student and teacher within that, but not an expert towards continuous improvements.
Yeah, good, good, good. Because we're learning it, and I like
And
what
of
you said.
course, true.
Yeah, and I like what you said with the learning part of that. That you're learning as well as teaching, because you're learning who you're
Mhm.
teaching as well. So it's kind of like a circle that you're building with the knowledge piece. You know enough to teach someone else, but you're also learning from the interaction with teaching someone else. So it kind of gives you a full win of that. How did you how did you go about feeling that this was kind of something that you really wanted to do as far as continuing? Because I know sometimes we learn things to better ourselves and to get better and to have ourselves on top of our game.
Mhm.
But how did you jump to the fact to say, I can kind of use this as maybe a business model for myself, in essence, to teach other people? When did you kind of like the light bulb click off on that and you say, okay, well, I'm going to take this
Yeah,
the
so I think it basically,
go ahead.
yeah, basically what happened was that in my senior year of college is I learned about continuous and Lean Six Sigma operations management class. And so what really happened that there was multiple methodologies, whether it be thinking outside of the box to create an atmosphere for employees, especially employees that do a lot of laborious work. So you're talking about like your lower level employees. And so with that, I really wanted to be able to help employees have a better life with their work life, and so that they can be able to take up quality of life and have a better quality of life outside of work and help enjoy with their children and whatnot, and be able to come home and feel like they have accomplished something very, very great and grand, and and have that quality of life. And that's how I really got into Lean Six Sigma and continuous improvement. Is I actually kind of fell in love with like a love at first sight situation. A few years in a in a corporation, I decided that I could this to multiple industries and teach this and with one industry and helping one organization that can help multiple organizations multiple times and educate multiple people, and have brought a band towards helping individuals and organizations at the same time. That's basically how I really got into it. Um, I continue to teach to other people and organizations.
Yes, yes. And when I heard about the term lean, I was at Chick-fil-A for quite a few
Mhm.
years, and I remember when we brought that lean methodology into there, and it was first and foremost, it was a hard thing to learn. Not essence in essence of learning the methodology, but it was a hard thing to put in implement. Oh, I can't talk this one. Put it put to implement, because of the simple fact you had to break all of those habits of things you were so used to doing before. And in the restaurant wise, a lot of things can be used, and I think Chick-fil-A is one that I always talk about because it's one that I have the most experience with on that level. uh they get the most out of everything that they use. Like, it's one of the first places I've ever worked at that just about there's a secondary or even a third dairy use, if that's a word, of every item that they order. It's not nothing specifically as a one-time use and throw out. Even the process of the chicken itself, when they get the chicken, certain chicken that's not sold, they use that for the chicken salad. They used to use that, to make other parts of it. They chop the chicken and put on salads. I mean, that
Mhm.
one piece of chicken has numerous uses. So when it came across this lean process of them, even packing it and shipping it and receiving it and how we got it, and in the packages of which we were, it was a tremendous change, but it was so well received after we learned about it. Is it hard, you think, for people to really implement that? Because now, fact, people are so used to just using the methods of which they've already used. Have you found it to be hard to teach that method to others? I think it's a delay. Can you hear me, Valerie?
One of the drawbacks toward what we consider change management, which is
Mhm.
basically implementing a change into the culture. So one of the issues I find is that their ability to accept change. And so a lot of people don't perceive change or want to have change. And so one of the first things you want to do when you're wanting to change the culture or a new methodology or systems into your organization is you want to take all them understand exactly why these changes are going to be happening and how these changes are going to affect and improve your conditions of your work life. So that is, having them involved into the whole, uh, also allowing them to make and create decisions for themselves that how they work really helps and provides for them to create higher amounts of change.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, because it is when you think about the change that takes place, a lot of that, and in essence of that, not even that we're talking about this particular aspect of it, but just change in general. When the same things have been going on for such a
Mhm.
long period of time, even with processes and definitely with people, because people have to be the one that makes the change. I often find in dealing with the change, it's not so much as the
Yeah.
process or the methodology, it's the actual individual who need to implement it. Do they feel like they may not feel that it needs to be changed? And a lot of times, if they're in power
Mhm.
and they're in places of making decisions, those changes don't come. Or if they do come, if they're forced upon, they're not always successful in the beginning. And I think you made a great point of that when we get the individuals down. And I think you have to show that it's. I mean, I can understand from a business standpoint, for me to change how I'm doing, you have to show me better. It's a show that I watch all the time, and I give them a shout out because I love the show. It's Bar Rescue, and all the time I watch this show, right? And he comes in and wants to do these changes, and it's often often a lot of times these managers are or these owners of these bars are so glad with how they're not glad with how things are going, but they're so like don't want to change when he comes in with these processes that makes them better. And I sit there and look at it like from a management standpoint, and I say, okay, if you're losing, and some of these bars, I watched one on Sunday, he was losing $25,000 a month, and he said he was doing okay. He didn't want to change. And I'm like, you got somebody here that's saying, how can you continue to function and run like that? And I'm giving you some changes. So it was people. A lot of times it's the people that you want to do. In essence of doing that, how can people work to get those processes done with them as being like just entrepreneurs? Because I know you talk a lot about startups and entrepreneur wise. How can those kind of things be utilized by just someone who just started their company and don't really have a lot of processes in place?
Mhm. How can they
You
utilize
hear me?
startups? So yeah, I can hear different ways and
Uh, Val's breaking up pretty
approaches.
bad.
They can utilize take the information that we receive the customer, utilize that into
Yeah,
but uh, can you hear me okay?
you breaking
It's
up a little
breaking up
bit.
really badly.
Yeah,
We don't know
Okay.
what's
yeah,
going on. Now it's
Okay.
breaking up more. But while we try to figure that up so we
Picking up
can get
yeah.
that stabled,
more.
we'll definitely I definitely want to hear your response to that. Carl, do not let us forget what you asked her, because
Yes, I won't let.
we also have another question coming in,
Mhm.
but from the standpoint of trying to implement, there's been a lot of great comments coming in saying,
Mhm.
a lot of times you have to have a buy-in from the bottom up,
Yeah,
because it's a make or break thing. And it's true. If the people who are being called on to implement do not believe in the system, they don't believe in the structure of improvement, then a lot of times they're quick to fall back on, oh, I've always done it this way, or it's easier for me to do it this way. And what's easier for one may be too much work for many. And I found, especially in the corporate, that's a lot of times, it's hard to get other people to help you if your process is convoluted, because that's a lot of learning that they have to do, that's a lot of retaining they have to do. And especially if they want to be part of multiple projects, they can't, because your process is so overwhelming and it's so broken up and so mishandled. With you being so married to your process because you're comfortable, in essence you're leaving the company in a position of not being able to grow, because now they can't bring other people in to help you and support you. That's what a team's supposed to do. And a lot of times, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of people lose their positions because they've been so rigid, and companies are allowing one person to be that bottleneck. Now they're moving around these individuals, they're finding different ways to either let you go, or they're shifting you out of those positions where they're looking for growth.
Mhm.
So I see that I think we're a little stronger with you. Can you please finish the question that you were answering, Valerie?
Yeah. So back to the startup, is that the customer's information, understand and analyze exactly what the customer is requesting as far as what the VLC is telling us. So what we are going to do is we're going to analyze and take it out and prioritize it and understand it into a what we call a QF, and be able to put the customer requirements and analyze it to the process or the company, the organization's capabilities, and put a information so that we can go and gather the main objectives of what we can do to make this product or service. That's one thing in lean to startups. A secondary thing we can do is be able to remove any of the unwanted or unnecessary costs that is associated to new products, the product development process. So we can analyze and figure out exactly where areas of waste at. We can also provide information on how it's more efficient and especially the flow of the development and we can even more effective value in that system. So those are some ideas of what Lean can do towards the start.
Yeah, and the startups with it being, I guess, with it being really important to be able to implement those, I would look at it from a perspective of being a startup and not having the old habits of maybe being in business for such a long period of time, and then not only that, having the people there that has this I could say pig-headed mentality of this is how it's been, this is how we're doing it, kind of things. I think that, or in my mind's eye, thinking that it probably would benefit. Of course, on the long haul, it would benefit the bigger companies, of course, to get that through. But it would benefit more so the entrepreneur who's starting out, because he can kind of get that direction, that culture, all of that fortified from the beginning with those processes to kind of learn how to grow forward on with that. Yes, and I was scanning through. So, Charlene, if you see them, let me know, because I was scanning through trying to see. I knew we had one.
So
Oh,
yeah, one
okay.
question was by Regalio, and he was saying,
Okay,
"What's
I
your
found
opinion about LSS in Latham?" I don't know what that is.
okay. Yeah, I just scrolled to it. I'm sorry. I was trying to get there.
that's that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yes, Val, what you think about is that
So
ISO and LSS?
LSS and Latham, I think that is the aircraft company. I believe so. So if it is the aircraft company, that we can recognize that Boeing has done before they were bought out, prior to the buyout in the 90s. They did Six Sigma, not really, they didn't call it Lean Six Sigma, but they did continuous improvement in there. A great amount of, they had higher quality standards, as well as they had really great employee morale. I don't know why you wouldn't want to put Lean Six Sigma into an organization, but more effective, we need to provide the information, the data, and systems that are going to improve the product, service, and value and the quality, to provide it to the customer and to provide it to your business standards as well. So I don't know why you would not implement Sigma into any organization. That's my
Nice. And he did a follow up about what is your experience with about ISO and LSS, ISO dash TPM. I don't. I guess these are
Well,
structure
Jelly, he's getting
things
into
that
it with
goes
us today. He's getting into
on.
it.
so Rodrigo. I have done Lean ISO. I did ISO 9001, which our users don't understand the quality standards. And basically, to understand this quality standards, it says that we do what we say we're going to do, and here's the proof that we do it. So it's a set of standards that we have set up for an organization that make sure that we do what we say, that we provide the information and service towards doing that. And so we have our quality standards towards that. We have understanding of our customer really wants and needs. We always continuous improvement towards ISO. Um, I upon ISO don't necessarily have to be to get the result of what ISO does. So what we need to realize is the importance of ISO is you can understand ISO more, and just implement that into your organization so that we can provide detail and provide more value towards the customer.
Yeah, and providing that more value. Uh, James said something about the project building. We're building project teams. We do the best we can to vector people based on expertise, the analytical skills, and character. However, typically within a group of say 10 or at least one member approaches the project in defense of a group of people or a specific process task. Yeah, that's normally it, James. Insisting everything is approachable other than say bias area. Yeah, and we find that a lot because people have their favorites in different things that work if it works well to them. And when I look at that, right, from the management standpoint, I'm always thinking about what works well for those who's using it, right? If I'm not the one that's so proficient with using a particular, whether it be software, hardware, service, if I'm not the ones that's going to be using that on a day in, day out basis, I don't particularly say, without necessarily being cost effective to the company, I don't particularly think that I have a dog in the fight, so to speak, when it comes to that, because I want it to be more efficient and more user friendly to the one that's using it every single day. And with that, I think management kind of overlooks that a lot of times and say, okay, well, I'm going to make this because for the company, it saves XYZ. But when you have the employees who's actually doing the output that's building up the bottom line, how is that inflecting or affecting them down in the basement, so to speak? So I like that. I like that when you're building that and you're building the teams and you want to do that. I think it behooves us if the management comes out of the decision making process with that to some extent because they're not utilizing it and they're telling you what's best to use from sitting in offices that are not doing this work. And I think it's a big hindrance. And like he said, we can work on it. He said a lot of time that's from a bias standpoint. People look at that and say, okay, that's been working fine for years. Why are we going to change that? Well, just go do the data. I like what you said before. I think I put in there, data is not there to be collected. It's there to be used in tools to determine a value. So if you have the data there, use the data, not just for charts and graphs, but use the data to see how you can continuously improve. I think that's what we're talking about, right? What you think about that, Val?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. The data, what that went out of the range or customers' expectations. And so what we really need to do with the data is really analyze to provide exactly where our root cause of the problem is and how can we associate and fix that problem. So data is great. I absolutely love data. I have data all over the place, but we got to make sure one thing is that it is what we need to define. So we don't want to create data points that are just creating points of data and then we're not using that for something, because that's a form of waste and that's process system. Make sure that we're using that data to really provide value into our system, that those algorithms set that into something. So like if we're talking about a data in our inspection points, are we making sure that the product is within the upper and lower limits, and making sure that we are what we call sigma, which is majority of our points are within the median of the upper and lower limits, so that we have our controlled process as well.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because sometimes as we're trying to build out improved processes, right? We also get those helpful people in the team who want to hold back on information. They
Mhm.
want to say, yes, we want to see what all of you come up with, but then they're holding back pivotal pieces of the process that people need, the entire team needs, so we can improve the entire process. We can do better, create something better. Now, how can we actually get beyond that? Allow get people to fork over all of the information, because I found that a lot of times when people hold information back, they it kind of makes them feel a little better, and then they can come back and say, well, no, that's not going to work because of this and this. But now they're revealing they're holding stuff back. How can you get people to really give you all of the information so you can do a better process improvement and continue to improve without people fearing that they may no longer be relevant or valuable? How can we get around that?
Yeah, knowing exactly why that they're holding back and not wanting to provide improvement. Trust, it comes with gaining people's trust, and as a continuous improvement person, we go out to the floor majority of the time, or talking to our employees, their pain points, understanding what problems they face on a daily basis, so that we can actually provide value and create systems that will teach you improve your own work situations. We give them ways for training. They're or replaced by something. So the easy thing to do is, give them training so that they can improve themselves and become trainers, or give them certified, so that they can become part of a team that's bigger and collaborative to the organization. I think it's very, very important to keep employees constantly, especially when the processes is changing, what they can make sure that they got the training, make sure that they got trust from you, that you're not here to remove their position or their job, that we're here to value and give you the necessary tools and make your life more efficient, less of the difficult work and more of the easier work.
Yeah, I like that. And I like that what you said, that, and I wouldn't even say it's analogy. It's what really needs to happen. I think a lot of times that disconnect is so broad there. Not only that, I think it should be a refresher. And I don't know, maybe you've experienced this too. Even with going through these processes, we oftentimes lose the evaluations. I like what James said. What the process looks like on paper. A lot of times we get our responsibilities and those things just going through the process of having an individual employee. We get there. We get when we're hired. We get what our responsibility is supposed to be, right? But with the growth of the company and the growth of that position and some of the things that are maybe added it to that position or even taken away, I don't think it's revisited to the employee. What's the new set of circumstances? And I think we lose that. And a lot of times that should be happening in evaluations by managers. It should be points in times or by leaders or supervisors or whatever their titles may be. And I know for the past few years that I've been and part of that, I've done that, but there have been a slippage of me seeing that from my peers in leadership, actually going back through and say, you know what, we've had this, and this happen over the course of this year. And now we're moving to this is going to be your new probably responsibility. This is going to be the new set of things you need to be watching out for or improving in. And I think if we have that kind of process along with the lean, along with the continuous improvement, all of it to function great. You won't have these breakups and like what James says, how it looks like on paper, what management thinks the process look like, and what actually happens. How's that three different processes? Because a lot of that is not looked upon by the leader and say, okay, I think there needs to be a reevaluation of what are we really doing with this data, how are we really implementing how we should do it, how we should really serve with this. And I know you were here, you've been here maybe 10 years, 15 years, but of course of time, I can't stick you what I hired you 15 years ago and tell you that's the same thing you should be doing today. How can I grow as a company or a corporation if I have you in that and I don't come back to the table through evaluations, through those kind of things that's supposed to be set up for leadership to can stay on top of that? How can I not come back and say, okay, your responsibilities have
Mhm.
changed? The job title may still be the same. And a lot of times it is. That title doesn't change, but some of your responsibilities now shift with the growth of the company or either the downsizing of the company. So now this is what I need you to be a focal point of in your everyday activities. Do you think we've gotten away from a lot of that as leaders in corporations and companies?
It really does depend on the organization. I think each organization will make changes depending on in different ways.
Mhm.
Like I said, it just really does vary. I think that a lot of organizations, I don't think a lot of organizations communicate enough. I don't think they provide enough reason why we have to make changes. And I think that that's one of the fail points that many organizations have, is that employees do not understand why we have to create an organization.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and I like how
Yeah.
James talks about false empowerment, because I think what also happens, as you were saying, Carl, responsibilities change. Unfortunately, a lot of companies don't really make it clear what responsibilities are. They're so fluid
Mhm.
with it. They're so relaxed and vague with what does this position require? What should you do on a daily basis, a monthly, whatever? They're very vague on that, and it becomes a detriment to someone who wants to grow, who wants to make it to the next level, because they don't know what to do. And if they're doing stuff that's technically seen in the next level above them, then they should automatically get to that level, but they're not being told that they're allowed to do that. Now they have to still prove themselves. So I think when it comes to processes and expectations, leaders need to be clear about, if you're in these
Mhm.
different positions, even if we're downsizing and it now has an impact on you, the fact that you can take on extra responsibilities and maintain what you are already doing, that's what we look for to say yes. When things get back to a different frame of normalcy, you can definitely just get promoted or get to the next level, or you yourself can look to becoming a leader of some group or something. But I think what really kind of breaks a lot of communication down or expectation is that there is none. There is nothing set. People are just going through the motions. And the pandemic kind of showed a lot of that, where a lot of people were leaving. So those who were left behind, in a sense, were there to take up a lot of these processes and almost make it out of thin air, because they didn't know. A lot of the people who knew the processes left. They left with the knowledge as well. By the time corporations were trying to speed up and implement a lot of these lean um, concepts and agile concepts, it was almost too late, because everybody's almost in this fear set, and they're just pushing forward without really it in and understanding, okay, is this what I'm supposed to do? Is this not what am I supposed to do? Is this extra? What do you consider extra? What do you consider above and beyond? And a lot of corporations are like, nah, it's not above and beyond enough. When you're taking on someone else's responsibilities that were technically never yours, it's that clarity is I think what helps break down a lot of these um need or passion to say, yes, let me take on learning a new process or continuous improvement model and keep that going, because there is no framework already there. You're just either seat of your pants at that point.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. Uh, and James mentioned something that was great. I know Simon Sinek. All of us has kind of like heard of him or heard of his some of the things that he shares with us in the leadership spectrum. And great leaders provide the why first. Uh, I've always thought the why was important. I wasn't one that never dealt with like hiding the why. I think the why is it's why we're here. It's the reason it's the reason behind why we're here. And if everybody don't understand the why, how can we get on board with uh, accomplishing the why? And I never understood that with companies when ones just want to hide the ones that know all of the ins and outs of different things and how they should go, and only show you maybe it's 10 steps, but they show you 7 so they can have 3 in their pocket to say they know more than you. And this all to me goes back to the individual. This also goes back to me, and I can't say it enough, and I say it repeatedly, and I'm going to continue to say it, the culture. Because when you have that culture that allows for this behavior and people are comfortable in that culture, there cannot be no continuous improvement. Because I have a leader that says, I'm going to only go show you 7 out of 10, and I'm going to pocket 3 just in case management or CEOs or they want to get crazy. I can leave with my 3 that I've been knowing that I figured out. And this is that's really stopping it. I like what you said, Charlene, as well about the clarity and the responsibilities. They aren't continuously done, and I think they should be. Like Valerie said, and Valerie, you touched on a good point. In some particular organizations, they have their ways with them, but I can't say I'm fluid from working throughout my years, quite a few top name organizations. I saw it differently in a lot of places, even within that organization, how different teams moved different ways in the same company. And I think that's something that across the board should be looked at. Not only looked at, it should go further than that. It should be things should be changed in that essence. How do you feel we're moving forward in this day and age? I say post pandemic with
Mhm.
the art of continuous improvement, and how do you think some of the companies can uh, take what take what this is and better their companies now?
So I think that right now, huge fear right now that we're going to be moving into a recession. Worked in
Mhm.
2008. I worked through a recession, and I did what was called value analysis, value engineering, which is help removing costs, making costs more efficient, and creating more value towards the customer. And so we demand towards how can we remove costs and how can we make our products more valuable so that we can gain our market, not just keep our market share, but gain more market share and that value customers. And so I think there's going to be a more capabilities towards need to have continuous improvement in organizations and more need towards that. Also, another aspect is we're seeing still some in material, and so how can we basically keep our product flow going at the same time while we're still with some of these same still issues. I don't think that continuous improvement is going to and I think that organizations are going to have to provide those systems in to help with the problems that most organizations are having right now and into future understanding of what's going to happen into the future. I really do think that there's going to be need of continuous improvement, whether it's a city of materials, helping with labor shortages, or understanding and how to create more market shares.
Yes, and I wanted to touch on this question before we started to wrap up. But James asked a great question. He said, after an event, he charges leadership to allow the team to meet and re engage 60 days after that event, allowing them to reassess the changes and effects. What do we think? What's our perspective on what he's doing? And would we implement something similar? And Valerie, I would love for you to kick that question off for us.
So basically, what he's talking about is providing a feedback loop into the system so that we can understand exactly the what the problems are have that the changes created. Anything we make cause and effect with every single change that we got to understand what the cause and the effects that these changes made for employees, for the customers, as well as different things like our suppliers and our transportation. We need to understand exactly what those changes are. And of course, another project towards creating more changes upon the changes that we just happen to make. Um, and and yes, so I do that. I think it's actually important that 60 days might be employees for sure. Uh, right after it's been implemented, and 60 days are not just being implemented. They uh, they are the changes, because as an independent consultant, as soon as I leave the organization, if not comfortable with the changes, they'll just go back to their old ways. So that's why it's really important to make sure that we create systems so that these changes can and help the employees or other. As soon as I my time, they're back to their old ways, and that's even providing that feedback loop to understand any problems that occurred from those changes.
Yes, because I know feedback loops have been very important. And it also allows you to see the mindset that you're working with when it comes to a lot of employees, clients, however that may be, is that a lot of times when you're hearing an objective, it's it's not always a valid objective. It's more from a fear-based objective of, oh well, I'm not sure if this, how long this was
Mm-hmm.
going to work, or this it just looked too complicated, because that learning aspect, they either didn't want to do it or whatever. So I've learned sometimes too, it's pushing them outside of that comfort zone. It's going to have to be a must across the board. And it can't be just
Mm-hmm.
from maybe their project leader. It has to be higher up the chain to say, look, we are all buying into this. We are going to try it. That, and I think that's where we're missing. A lot of people just don't want to try something different for the fear of, oh, it's going to fail like all the other things have failed. But if you're not willing to try it, give your
Yeah.
feedback on, well, if we tweak this, then maybe this can work, or if we did this differently or added something else. That's what the feedback loop should be consisted of, not just a bunch of negativity and no, it's not going to work, and you didn't really give it your all. I think that's why I think the 60 days allow them to put it into place, but there should be some follow up in between the 60 days, because 60 days can come back quickly if depending on how
Mm-hmm.
busy your team can be, and before you know it, you really didn't implement anything, and now everybody says, ah, it wasn't good, but you didn't implement it. So yeah.
Yeah, I like the aspect of the 60 days when you look at it from a standpoint of a will this be a recurring education process with this, like you were saying, Valerie, with the outside consultant coming in. I think if you let that go longer than 60 days with an consultant coming in, I think that you dramatically lose some of the prosperity of which that's gonna really work because if an outside person has come in and kind of implemented this and
Mhm.
left it with you to do, he or she is going to know the quirks of if is people actually doing it, are people really implementing it, are they really giving it a go, so to speak, or are they just for show? Because a lot of times these changes take place and people just say, oh, okay, I'll try it, and then you go a week later, and if you just really would be the micromanager, so to speak, go back and you'll start seeing that they really hinging back to a lot of the ways that they've been doing things all the time. So when you come back at this 60-day process, they haven't really fed into the belief of it's going to do anything anyway. And now you've got that 60 days of wasted time where they didn't really. And I do think the 60 days is a good parameter to set, but I think engagement should be hit along those 60 days. If you can pick points and peaks and what should, from your prospects of
Mhm.
putting it out there, know what should be working. Like if you guys are doing it all like you should be doing it, day 10 of this process, I should start seeing some results. So day 10, I can go check and I say, okay, well, this department or that department, they're not really pulling up the slack. Let's see if we can put this there. But I like that aspect of that. And I also like what I want to point out what Daniel had mentioned too. This would also be a feedback loop on your continuous improvement process, because with that feedback loop, you're also giving feedback on what the process is and the continuation of it, in addition
Right.
to whatever improvement the event was pursuing. So I like the
Mhm.
what these guys have put in the comments today.
Yes, yes. And I want to thank you, Valerie, for being awesome,
Yes, yes,
and sharing so much about this, because people need to understand
yes,
what does continuous improvement look like. I think we hear it a
absolutely.
lot. We're being told we need to do it, but we're not really sure how to implement it. What does implementing it look like? And I think you gave us an amazing jump start into that, and I would love to definitely have you back to dig a little more into this, and how can we, now that we see what it should be, what it can be, what's the next step after that? As we're doing continuous improvement, we have a lot of different bandwidths that come with that, because I know for lean six, there's you, when you're going through the process, you can be a yellow belt, green belt, black belt, but what does that all mean as you're going
Right.
on trying to achieve these things? And I'm a yellow belt, but I'm just like, okay. I don't think I want to go too deeper into that, but I want to get your perspective on what's the differences, and then how does that benefit organizations to have people in the organization who hold these standards to be true.
Yeah, so the different degrees of your belts is basically depending on your learning experience and your general experience towards using the tools and projects. So it basically starts out with a white belt, yellow belt. We go with green belt, black belt, and then we have the master black belt. That's of course the highest that you can go, unless you want to go yes, where you could say. And basically, again,
Oh
it's
wow.
about the education and using the tools and creating the tools and implementing them into the organization.
Hmm.
Love
Oh
that.
man.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't know it was belts like that. I took Taekwondo. You talking about belts? I thought that's what y'all was talking about. Taekwondo. I thought I was talking about the martial arts, but that
It
that that's amazing though, 'cause
is
that you
iconic.
get.
I know, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, but you talk about those belts, and you're just talking about even in
Mhm.
the essence of it, just make a light of it. But that's just a commitment to someone want to be that great, such as in the arts. There's a commitment level to that in the education process that comes along with that, and to where you want to get that
Mhm.
certification and how you want to bring that about. It's amazing though. But I love hearing about that because that brings about challenges for those who want to see change. And I think if someone has committed themselves to going through that process of going from green belt to yellow, I mean, from yellow to green to black, sensei, I remember I had to talk to my sensei, called me grasshopper. That's real. It's real. Yeah, they do say that when you learn martial arts. Yes, though that process, if I'm behind the individual that wants to do this, that's a commitment shown to me that they want to make change and they want to implement change. And those
Mhm.
changes, we don't always see them on the top
Mhm.
shelf. But if we give them a lot of opportunity to permeate in through the corporation, we'll see with quickness, we'll see whether they're going to be something that pushes us forward or they're going to be something that needs tweaking. But we got to implement them to see that. And I think with the continuous improvement, if we don't start to implement those things, we're going to lose a lot of ground gained. Yes,
Yes.
awesome, awesome,
So
awesome.
guys, we're gonna drop Valerie's links for you to connect with her in the chat. Again, we dropped them earlier. We're gonna drop them again, and definitely make sure that you catch us back here for another Real Talk on Thursday. And also connect with our sponsors. We have our Russ and Scott. They have their mastermind live group. Carl and I are there. You're going to meet some more amazing people, but join them, jump on over there, make sure that you're a part of that mastermind. And then also we have our Black Toolbox. Make sure that you grab that book. It is launching, but you want to make sure you get the autograph version because Martin Pratt is not about messing around. He's about giving you real feedback, real conversation, and content that you can really work with and understand and make something a difference in your life, in your community. And of course, Mr. Carl Shawn, let the folks know about your C-suite leadership, please.
Yes, come on down. Yeah, I don't have my green belt, my yellow belt, my black belt, but I got my belt. I got my belt. Are you ready to be transformed? Right? It's a 4-week intensive vulnerability transformation program where we go to the heart of the matter, right? The C-suite, those who are making the leadership decision. We also hit it for the leaders. It's not just exclusive to the C-suite, but we take you through a 4-week intensive transformation, the introduction of vulnerability, how that plays a process in just not only who you are, but who people perceive you to be, how people perceive you to be, and how you are as a leader, what those qualities based on. And of course, we take you step by step, breaking bad habits. What are some of the bad things that you've been continuously doing with leader as your tagline and not really been the leader that people want to follow? And in that, we're going to give you some processes to move forward. Move forward through the bad habits that you've had. Come through out on the other side and then experience the breakthrough. So it's a 4-week intensive where we work on all of those things and take you through the assessments. We give you the 360, try to find out what kind of individual you are so you can be the leader you need to be and also the one that will lead leaders. I like that process.
All right. And for me, if you know that you have a struggle site, and what is that? That is you having a website that you don't know how to use. You're not sure how it plays a role in your marketing. Hit me up at brooklyn.customdesigns.com/SOS, or you can text message Brand Misfit VIP to 74121. And you can get more information once you join that message box and make sure that you are a part of the Brand Misfit community. That's where you can learn more. You can be given exclusive deals and, of course, insights on how to do better with your website. And I want to say thank you again, Valerie. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. You guys made this another amazing show, and we
Thank you.
cannot wait to see you Thursday.
Take care, guys. Have a great one.
Thank you, Charlene. Thank you, Carl. Thanks.
Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. Real talk for the real world. Let's get it. Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. Real talk for the real world. Let's get it.